Sean Spicer firing back at the White House after he and several other Trump appointees were purged from various military academies by the Biden administration. Welcome to the second hour, folks, of American Agenda. I'm Bob Sellers.
And I'm Heather Childers. Our own Sean Spicer was part of a number of former Trump officials, including Kellyanne Conway, H.R. McMaster, General Jack Keane, Russell Vought, amongst others. And he joins us now, the author of the book, Leading America, President Trump's Commitment to People, Patriotism, and Capitalism, and Newsmax host of Spicer and Company, Sean Spicer. Sean, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, we saw on your show last night, it was clear that you take this personally. Explain a little bit further for our viewers.
Great to be with you. And by the way, I've got a brand new book coming out called Radical Nation that looks at the Biden-Harris agenda for the first time. And this book couldn't have been better timed because the people and the policies that are driving this country need to be understood by the American people. Look, I took it personally because Jen Psaki from the White House podium chose to call into question my qualifications and experience. I've never made my military service something that I've bragged about. But if you're going to call into question my experience, my qualifications to serve on a board like this, I'm going to fire back. And I think it's beyond me. When you look at the list of people that you put up there, General Jack Keane, Lieutenant General Swan, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, Megan Mumps, an Afghanistan veteran and West Point graduate, David Urban, a West Point graduate. These are all people who have served the country in uniform, now serve on academy boards that have been free from politics. And for Jen Psaki to stand at the White House podium and question our values and question our commitment and experience is absolutely disgusting. She owes every one of those individuals an apology.
Sean, one of the things I'm not sure people know enough about is that these appointments are for 3 years. And there's a reason they're for 3 years. It's because however the calendar comes up, whoever the president is, they can replace that person or those people, and that's fine. But it hasn't been the case in the past where you go in and have some mass firing of people. You're not being allowed to serve your term. And the reason it was 3 years is so a president comes in. It's not the case where they appoint a whole bunch of new people.
That's right. There are Obama people on our board. There were Obama people on the Military Academy West Point's board. That's how it worked all the way back through history. Look, Bob, there's a difference. I was a commissioner on the White House Commission on Fellows. I resigned my commission when asked by the president because that's a presidential board, and the president has a right to decide who he wants. These service academies are chartered by Congress. They're made up of some presidential appointees, some members of the House of Representatives, and some members of the Senate. There's a reason they were chartered by Congress, and as you put, given 3 years from administration to administration. They have never in our history been injected with partisan politics until yesterday when this administration did it.
Yeah, Jen Psaki obviously had a press conference earlier today. I'm not sure if she commented on it, but we do have what she said yesterday on CNN defending their decision. Here's what she had to say.
It's not personal. I will say that there are some people, of course, on these boards who have supported or stood by silently while their former boss supported an insurrection. That's not really okay with us.
Did you hear what she said there? Supported an insurrection.
Well, look, if she's got someone in particular, she should name them. But I'll tell you, every viewer of my show understands that on January 6th, as someone who had served over 10 members of Congress and worked on Capitol Hill in the House and the Senate, I expressed my views of January 6th very, very clearly and forcefully. So if she's got a problem with somebody else on the board, then she should come out and name it. But she's shifting. Yesterday, it was qualifications and values. Today, it's January 6th. Jen Psaki's comments are absolutely deplorable and disgusting. And what's even more so, Bob and Heather, is not one member of the White House press corps yesterday pushed back on her questionable question about people's qualifications. 3-star, 4-star generals that are being kicked off a board. H.R. McMaster, by the way, is about to receive this Saturday on 9/11 the highest alumni award that West Point presents. He's not qualified to serve. You question his values. Jen Psaki, get out there and explain it.
Yeah, and Sean, you've been with the Naval Reserve for how many years?
22.
22 years. And what does that mean to you when somebody tries to denigrate that or turn it political? And by the way, let me mention that the term insurrection for what happened on January 6th is a political term because that's not legally what has happened. That's not been deemed
No
an
one's been
insurrection.
charged with insurrection.
With insurrection, right. So even that is political, Sean.
Absolutely. But look, I mean, they're doing everything they can to avoid the situation that's happening in Afghanistan as Americans are being stranded in a Taliban-controlled Afghanistan because of a horrible withdrawal that was guided by this administration. So they'll do anything to change the subject, including dismiss a bunch of veterans days before 9/11 when we honor the service of so many people that have kept this country safe for 20 years. It's disgusting what they did. They don't want these boards to meet, Bob and Heather, because they're affecting the curriculum, like adding CRT, critical race theory, into them, and they want zero oversight from anybody that'll push back on it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a huge effort to distract from Afghanistan and get it out of the headlines and get the media to not cover it. Speaking of that, though, about what's happening there just a short time ago, State Department spokesperson Ned Price, which is happening right now, reacted to the new Taliban government in Kabul. Here's what he said.
You have heard us say that the lack of inclusivity, the track records, the backgrounds of some of the individuals involved is a cause for concern. It certainly does not reflect what the international community and what, as a part of that, the United States hoped to see.
Not what they hoped to see. Should they have expected otherwise?
What a pathetically weak statement. There are 4 former terrorists that are part of this cabinet, people that we kept in Guantanamo Bay that were released for a swap by President Obama for Army deserter Bo Bergdahl. And they're now members of the Taliban government. And he's talking about inclusivity. What is this, a peace rally? My God, this is the safety of our country. And they're walking around using words like inclusivity. Grow up. Start stepping up to this country and defend it.
Sean, what do you have coming up tonight?
Well, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about this tonight. We're also going to talk about Rand Paul's new discovery that documents have come out that, in fact, Dr. Fauci and his organization were funding the Wuhan lab. We'll break all that down. And then we've had a whole 9/11 week series honoring our heroes in the lead up to 9/11. We'll continue that tonight to meeting some great, amazing people who've lost individuals because of 9/11. We'll honor them and the sacrifice they made.
He has a book, I heard.
Yes.
Did you hear he has a book?
Yes, another book, your other book.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Radical Nation.
Yes.
Go to
Sean,
Newsmax.com/23. Newsmax has made it really easy for people to go out there and order the book.
There you go.
Absolutely.
I wanted him to get the plug in one more time.
Sean, I know that you got to get to work on your show. Thank you so much for joining us. We certainly appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, guys.
And as we said, be sure to check out his new book, or this book as well. This is the other one he has, Leading America, President Trump's Commitment to People, Patriotism, and Capitalism.
And you can catch him on Spicer & Company, as we just mentioned, every night, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.